Welcome back. This video is going to go over the worksheet called I'm the most terrific liar you ever saw in your life. So this deals with Holden's reliability as a narrator. We've started discussing this. I want to continue to explore this not only in these first 7 or 8 chapters, but really throughout the entire book. It's interesting. Holden admits to us up front that he's a liar. He likes to tell stories. So let's call him out on that. Let's pick through this text and figure out what are some of these lies that he's telling us, why you think it may be a lie, and what a possible reality might be. So here are just a couple of examples. I see that after checking your worksheets that a lot of you came up with some other really great examples. So the first one, a first example would be Holden, his feelings towards Ackley. He describes his roommate Ackley's bad hygiene. He says, and not only that, he has a terrible personality. He was sort of a nasty guy. I wasn't too crazy about him, to tell you the truth. So he's really kind of mean in his description of Ackley. Why that may not be so true? Well, even though he is talking about how disgusting Ackley is, later on in the novel, he pokes his head into Ackley's room. He even tries to wake Ackley up because he's lonely and he has nobody to talk to. So the possible reality is that Holden is lonely. He's desperate for human contact. So even though he isolates himself, he really actually wants to feel connected and have a bond with someone, anyone, even if that one person is Ackley. So even though he badmouths Ackley, most of that is just to appear like that he's being very selective about his friends. But in reality, Ackley is about the closest thing to a friend he's got. Another little lie, and this was mentioned on a previous worksheet, the situation with the fencing equipment. He says it was funny. He thinks it was funny that he left the fencing equipment on the subway, but we know that that's not true because he says the whole team ostracized him. And also, if you think about the ramifications of this, they couldn't have the meet because they didn't have their equipment. And also, that equipment is very expensive. They all have to buy new stuff. And they probably can't have another meet until they get all of their new equipment. And remember, this is the 1950s. They can't log on to Amazon and have it delivered in 2 days. So they are more than irritated with Holden for losing this equipment. The possible reality is that he lost that equipment, he was mortified about it, ashamed, and totally embarrassed, so he buys this hunting hat to put on to sort of like protect himself. It's something that he can like hide under, so he doesn't have to deal with the shame that he's probably feeling at the moment. Another lie, he says he hates the movies. Why do I think that's not true? Well, number one, he goes to the movies with Ackley and Broussard. He talks about the movies all the time, all throughout the novel, all of these movies that he's seen. If he hates them, how come he's seen so many? And lastly, he has this very vivid imagination that's very similar to the movies that he sees. In fact, he often imitates the movies. He imitates like popular characters in movies all of the time. So the possible reality of the situation is that he's being overly cynical. He probably enjoys the escape that a movie provides, especially in his very sort of lonely life. Another lie. He gets into this fight with Stradlater. He says, I don't think he knocked me out. I'm going to say he knocked him out for sure. Why? Because number one, Stradlater's jacked. Number two, Holden says that he, quote, doesn't remember what happened. So a loss of memory to me would indicate that he probably got punched pretty hard in the face and probably got knocked out. Number three, he indicates a passage of time because he says that when he opened his eyes, Stradlater was standing over him with a toilet kit in his hands. So that would indicate that Stradlater had to go get his, toiletries that he's presumably going to take down with him to the bathroom. Another reason it's a lie, he talks about the gore. He's bleeding everywhere. So he got hit again pretty hard. And lastly, and probably the biggest thing that tipped me off that he did get knocked out is that Stradlater's reaction. Stradlater looks worried and he gets sympathetic. He's like, come on, man, go wash your face. Like he feels bad about what he did. Possible reality, Stradlater knocked him out. Probably unintentionally. But Holden is very weak and he doesn't want to admit that he got knocked out. Another lie. Holden says that he doesn't mind the cold, and that he doesn't care. His tone is that he doesn't really care. This is when he's like standing outside after he leaves Pensy. This can't be true. Think about Holden's state of being right now. He's bleeding from his face. He's swollen. He's hurt. He has nobody to talk to. He can't go home because his family is going to be mad at him for being expelled. So home isn't really an option. And lastly, he really doesn't have anywhere to go at all. And it's pretty cold outside. The possible reality is that he's very uncomfortable. He's probably crying, and he's probably very upset, and he's definitely pretty lost in the whole situation. Another lie, he says that he looks old for his age. In fact, he points out the fact that he has like some little patch of gray hair. Maybe he does have a patch of gray hair. But I don't really think it's true that he looks old for his age, because several times throughout the story so far, he tries to order a drink. He never gets one. He asks Miss Morrow and the cab driver if they want to have a drink. Their response is, "How old are you?" So to me, that indicates that they're presumably surprised that he's asking them to go for a cocktail. Yeah, so he never gets served. The possible reality is Holden probably looks exactly his age. He looks like a 16-year-old boy. Thanks for watching.